It's tough out here in these fantasy streets trying to figure out which wide receiver you should be targeting in these crowded wide receiver rooms. The Chiefs, the Jags, the Texans, the Packers, the list goes on. So here today, I'm giving you the right options to acquire this summer for your rosters. Now let's jump into the Texans wide receiver room. Now I love me some Nico Collins. I love Tank Dell, and I even like Stephon Diggs as a whole. But man, you're going to be ripping your hair out trying to figure out which wide receiver you should be targeting. Now I love Nico Collins, but I don't love him in the first 20 picks. His ADP is within the first 20 picks of the draft, and I feel like there's a lot of risk there because we have to put in consideration there has to be some type of regression here, even if it's the targets, if it's the receptions, if it's touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't think Nico Collins should be going in the first 20 picks. So there is a lot of risk and gamble there. He did get paid, but I just feel as though there's going to be another mouth to feed when you add a guy in the caliber of a wide receiver of Stephon Diggs. Now, Stephon Diggs is going about 2 rounds later. He's going in the 4th round, where I feel as though that'll be a safer bet, in my opinion, just based on them going out and getting a Stephon Diggs and adding him to this wide receiver room. They obviously have big plans for him. I think he'll be very involved in this offense where he'll see a good amount of targets. He'll be playing that Z position as well, where he'll be able to move around and float around in motion. I think Stephon Diggs will get all of the short to intermediate targets, where in PPR formats, that's great to hear. Now, Tank Dell, he'll be going in the 5th round in some cases where I think there's a lot of risk there, but I also love him as a guy that can make the big plays, stretch the field, and et cetera, et cetera. You're gonna get these defenses worrying about Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Maybe Tank Dell slips in as a guy that'd be a huge benefactor here, being that he's such a big playability. But the guy has been banged up last season. He did miss some time. He also had the off-field issue as well that he's recovering from, but I just feel as though there is some gamble there, being that he's a smaller wide receiver. So if we're going to go on absolute value, I think Stephon Diggs is your guy that you want to target in this Texans backfield. Now jumping to the Packers wide receiver room, this one is pretty much clear and simple for me. I love Jaden Reed out of all these options. Christian Watson obviously coming back from injury with the hamstring issues. I'm staying away from him, even though his price isn't disgusting. I just don't feel as though I don't want to dip into that bag of trying to rely on the guy that lacks the chemistry with Jordan Love. Now, Jaden Reed, man, he gives you all the opportunities and all the opportunities to create some fantasy points, being that you can use him close to the line of scrimmage where he's able to get busy and make the yards after the catch, or he's a deep threat where you can have him go stretch the field and make the big catches. When you're looking at a guy like Jaden Reed and he's able to get some rushing attempts out of the backfield, he's basically like a 2.0 version of Deebo Samuel, where he can even be a runner. 6 out of his 11 rushes went for 10 plus yards last season, and he scored on 2 of them. I want the guy that's going to be most involved with the most fantasy opportunities on the table. And Jaden Reed out of a Romeo Dobbs or even a Dontavian Wicks, I would rather have Jaden Reed as my wide receiver 3 or my flex option out of this crowded wide receiver room. And another benefactor here is obviously Jordan Love. He'll be a guy that will be able to sneak into the later to mid rounds. He's going there where Kyler Murray and the Dak Prescotts are going right now. He's a QB1 that has all these weapons and options to move down the field and score some fantasy points. Now, looking at this Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver room, man, it is a complete mess. You have Gabe Davis, the new addition there in that wide receiver room. You also have Brian Thomas Jr., who's a guy that can stretch the field, that has long reach, and I feel as though some camp videos, they're going to build some hype, so his ADP may be on the rise as well. It's currently sitting in the 6th round. That's kind of a little expensive for me right now, but obviously you have Christian Kirk returning back from injury. He played 12 games last season. If you ask me, man, it is clear and simple of who you should be targeting out of this wide receiver room, and it's Christian Kirk. Let's not go against the grain of what we already know is a fact. There's a mystery with Brian Thomas Jr. there, being that he's a rookie and how he's going to fit in this offense. Then there's the mystery of Gabe Davis. Can he be a complete all-around wide receiver other than a one-trick pony that him and Josh Allen had over there in Buffalo? Trevor Lawrence has targeted the slot since 2021, the second most out of all quarterbacks. And I feel as though him targeting that slot position plays right into Christian Kirk, where there's going to be consistent volume. There's going to be a guy that he can rely on 3rd down. He's also 2nd in receptions last season behind Evan Ingram, who also plays in the slot, before he left with injury after the 12 games. So I feel as though we have to go with facts here. Trevor Lawrence has favored him as his wide receiver 1. They paid him as his wide receiver 1 as well. That contract is looking really good good right now based on the work and production he has put in for those Jaguars. So obviously, I don't want to go gambling with a Gabe Davis. I don't want to go gamble with a rookie and Brian Thomas Jr. As talented he is, there's just the unknown there. I just want to go about what I know is a fact, and Christian Kirk will be the number one target for the Jaguars in 2020. So that wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe, and head to the website, sign up today, and use my promo code FIRE to get 10% off of your subscription. Now you guys can follow me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.